Welcome back to the mini farm. Did you know that if you buy a whole turkey and cut it up yourself, it is so much cheaper than buying ground turkey and already cut up turkey? You can even make your own lunch meat with it. Today, I'm going to show you how you can do this for yourself and how easy it is to turn it into all of this. With this turkey, we ended up making 2 batches of turkey jerky. We also smoked some turkey legs like they do at the parks and at Disney. Then we made the juiciest turkey deli meat that we sliced up nice and thin for sandwiches. Also diced up some of it and canned it. There's so much you can do with canned turkey. But the best part was when we roasted the bones and made this incredible bone broth. This stuff is amazing. It's loaded full of collagen, so tasty. So if you want to see how we turn this one turkey into all of this, then just keep watching. But first, give this video a thumbs up if you like videos like this, and click the red subscribe button below. If it's already great, thank you so much for being here. I love having you here, and I really enjoy our chats in the comment section. Without further ado, here's how to cut up a turkey for lots of good stuff. We're going to start off by unwrapping the turkey. Now we have paper towels under this to eliminate the mess a little bit. It is much easier to do this in the sink, but for the video purposes, we wanted to kind of show you how to do it. Also, as you're working, you are going to get a little bit of leakage. Every time it starts to leak a little bit, just take a break, wipe it down, and make sure you're working with a clean surface the whole time. This will kind of eliminate getting overwhelmed and having it be super messy. Start by unhooking the legs and then taking out all of the fillings. Sometimes they put the giblets and gravy in there. They also have a little thermometer for if you're going to roast the turkey whole. We're not doing that here. We're cutting it up. So we're going to take out the little thermometer. If you find some more ice in there, just go ahead and pull it out and throw it into the sink and let it thaw out. And then make sure you clean out your sink after you're done with this whole process with some disinfecting soap. You're going to need a few bowls for this process just so you can make sure you organize everything properly. So we ended up using 4 bowls for this specific cut. I'm going to put bowl number 1 aside and then loosen up the joints just a little bit. Then feel for that piece of skin that's basically holding the thigh and leg together onto the bird. Slice right through that and just kind of run your knife across it a couple times until it really loosens up. Press that leg down really good. It'll separate everything else. And the only thing that's connecting it, other than a little bit of meat, is that little piece of bone that's connecting the socket. So just cut around that and it'll pop right out as soon as you get to the bone. You're going to get a better angle as soon as we flip this over here in a second. The legs, thighs, and wings can all go in bowl number 2. So as soon as you get that off, just get that out of your way so you have more room for the next side. Do the same thing on the second side. Just slice through the skin, push it back, cut through the meat portion that leads to that one socket. So he just sliced through just that little bit of meat. That's exactly where the socket is, where you just saw him stop. And then he's going to slice from the other side. Once he cuts through the meat to the socket on both sides, you can just kind of pull it apart and pop the bone right out of the socket. And then just cut it right around that joint. And go ahead and move that thigh and leg to the same bowl that we're going to put the thighs and wings in, bowl number 2. Now we're going to do the wings in a very similar way. Just pop the bone back so you can kind of loosen up the joint, slice away at the skin and the meat. The only thing holding this in from a bone perspective is just a socket. So once you get to that, you can pop it back and it'll come right off. Put that in bowl number 2 and flip it over to the next side. Before we move on to the next side, he went ahead and did a little bit of a cleanup, and I put down a little towel underneath his cutting board so it wouldn't move around as much. If your cutting board is moving too much, then this is a little trick that could help you too. But he's doing the same thing on side number 2 with that wing. He just sliced into it, popped the bone out of the socket, and then sliced right through. And then he's going to put that wing in with the other 3 things in bowl number 2. Now we're going to move on to the breast. We're going to do 2 separate things with the breast. So one of them is going to be wrapped with the skin, and the other one is going to be just plain. So it's going to be deskinned and deboned. The first thing we're going to do is just going to cut the skin off the first side of the breast because we're going to use the whole piece of skin to wrap the other one. There's a bone right down the center of the breast. We're going to use that to guide us to cut 2 separate breast meat roasts. The first one's going to be boneless, skinless. So just make sure you kind of shave off the last of the connecting skin without cutting through it because we're going to need it for the second roast that we're going to wrap in all of that skin. You can stick your fingers underneath there and kind of separate it too if you have a little bit of stuff that's not loosening up. But then look for that bone just like he did with his fingertips and slice right above that bone and kind of keep slicing into it. He's going to get you a better angle. Just keep slicing right there, right above that bone. It'll be your guide all the way down until you get the whole breast off. You can slice and pull until it comes all the way off like that. And then go ahead and get bowl number 3 out for the breast meat. So we can go ahead and move that one to that bowl and make ourselves some more room on the cutting board. Okay, now you can see that we have all of that skin still from what we had on the first breast kind of folded over to the next side. We don't want to cut the skin off, so we're going to pull it off just a little bit and then do the same exact thing. Slice right across that bone. Let it be your guide. Just use your fingers to kind of feel in there before you put the knife in. And just keep slicing. Be very careful with that knife, of course. And slice again, just like we did with the first breast, until you get all the way to the end, and then slice it right off. Okay, he's going to flip it around so you can see. But this is the last bit of skin that's kind of holding on the breast at this point. There's really no meat or anything holding it on. So just kind of curve it right under there, right under that bone. There should be the last of the skin attached to the back a little bit. Just pull that off. And then you can take the skin and wrap it all the way around that breast to kind of seal in the flavor and stuff on it. We're going to tie that here in a little bit too when we're done. The breast with the skin on it wrapped around is going to be for deli meat. And the other one that's boneless, skinless will be sliced up here in a bit for the turkey jerky. You can go ahead and move both of these breasts into bowl number 3. And we're going to use the last bowl to get the rest of the pieces of meat off this bird for canning. So start from the top, take your knife and every little piece of meat that you find, cut it off and put it in that 4th bowl. You're just going to work your way all around the bird until you can't get any more meat off of it. As soon as we're done taking all of the meat off of the bones, we're going to go ahead and roast these bones. It's okay if you still leave a little bit of meat. It's just going to go into the broth, into the bone broth. So that's fine. Don't feel like you have to get every single last scrap, but you will get quite a bit out of it. So we ended up getting about a pound of meat off of that, just the bones themselves. And then go ahead and stick it in the roasting pan. We ended up doing all of these things in one night. So we roasted, we made the broth, we canned it. We also canned the turkey meat all in one night. It took us about 5 hours because we had to wait for some of the machines to do the work. But if you're not ready to do that tonight or today, then go ahead and just stick those bones in the freezer. And whenever you're ready to make the broth, you can easily just pull them out, roast them, and go ahead and move on there. So, but we're going to get some more bones and some meat for canning and roasting right now. If you are happy with where we are right now, you can just be done. And now you have, your legs, your thighs, and your wings. But if you want to have a little bit more to can, which is what we wanted to do, the thigh meat is perfect for that. So he's going to go ahead and cut the thigh off of the legs, the turkey legs. We're going to use the turkey legs for smoking like I was saying before. So we're going to keep those whole. And then for the thighs, we're going to cut them both off and try to get enough meat to fill at least 4 pint-sized jars. It's always best to work with a full canner. For the thighs, it's the same process. You're an expert by now. So just feel for that joint area, slice into it, pop it out, and then slice all the way through. We're also going to cut up the wings and the wing tips for the same purposes. So we're going to cut off the wing tips the exact same way as we cut off the thighs. Just kind of find the skin fold in there, slice it, and then crack it off and slice all the way through. That part is going to go with our bones that we're roasting. It's full of collagen, so it's going to be a great addition to our bone broth. Do that to both wings, of course. Okay, now we're going to work on breaking down the thigh. We're going to keep the skin and the bones from the thigh to roast with the bones for that bone broth. And then we're going to cut off the pieces of the thigh meat into dices and go ahead and can that with the rest of the chunked up meat that we got from before. So there's a bone, one small bone that goes right down the thigh. So it's one of it's kind of a solid piece of meat and the other one's wrapped around the bone. Find that piece of solid meat and just slice that right off. Put that aside, and then you can work your way around the bone from the other side. There's another big piece of meat on there, so you can kind of slice that right off. Use the tip of your knife and work it as you basically kind of scrape it against the side of the bone, and that will slice the meat right off for you. And then just put that on the roasting pan. We're going to do the same thing with thigh number 2. Take off the skin. You can slice it right off, put it on top of the bones for the broth. So find that big chunk of meat right there, right against the bone, slice it right off. Then flip it over, do the other side, and put that last bone on the roaster. And now we're just going to dice up all of this meat into 1-inch cubes for canning. If you don't want to can this meat, you can easily just freeze it in those dices. This is great for tacos, for stir fries. We've used it in soups and stews. It's just delicious meat, especially the dark meat. It's full of flavor and it's not dry at all. And then just move that to bowl number 4 and we're done with cutting up the turkey. We are going to go back to bowl number 3 and slice up the turkey breasts so you can see what it looks like when we slice it up for jerky. But I did want to mention that tomorrow I'm going to show you how to roast these bones and make that into stock. So if you want to see how to do that, just come back tomorrow and I'll have that video ready for you. Okay, now we're going to use the boneless, skinless turkey breast for the jerky. So this was about a 20-pound bird when we first started. Each one of these breasts is a little over 2 pounds each. If you have a hard time slicing this piece, go ahead and pop it in the freezer for about 30 minutes. It'll freeze it enough to where it's a little bit easier to work with. The first thing we're going to do is cut off this tenderloin. So you flip it over, find this little piece of tenderloin, and just slice that right off. Then go ahead and trim it up a bit. You want to get rid of the little pieces of fat and skin because those don't make really good jerky. You could easily put those right on top of your roasting pan that we have going for the bones too. And now, as you can see, there's 2 pieces that are different thickness. One's almost twice as thick as the other. Go ahead and slice it right down the middle to separate those 2 pieces. Now all you're going to do is just cut right along that long side, about a 1/4 inch thick. And that will be our jerky slices. Now with the other piece, we're going to cut it at a cross angle versus what we were doing with the long ones. And we're going to do it at an angle going into the meat so you get nice wide pieces for your jerky. So you can see that it's still a 1/4 inch thick, but it's now going in at an angle so you have nice big wide pieces for the jerky. You could also easily add this to your canning meat. So if you wanted to just cube it up into 1-inch cubes like we did before, this would can up really nicely. To start the tenderloin, you can go ahead and cut off that little piece, the little white tab in the front there. That's really hard to chew on and almost inedible. So go ahead and cut that off and move that. For the tenderloin, you have several options here. It's such a good piece of meat. It's so tender and delicious and juicy. We usually cut this one up actually for nuggets. So we make little turkey nuggets out of it from both breasts. It's plenty to feed all 3 of the kids and us actually. But for this one, we still went ahead and sliced it up for jerky, and the same thing. You're going to do long slices that are about a 1/4 inch thick. If you want to see how to make turkey nuggets, we actually ended up buying an extra turkey. So we can easily show you how to do that too with the next bird. Now we're just separating the turkey slices equally into 2 bags because we're going to make 2 different kinds of jerky. So we're just going to put those aside and get ready for the marinade. I'll share the full jerky making process here in a few days. So if you want to see how to make that, then just come back in a few days and that video will be ready. And the last thing we're going to do today is tie up the turkey breast that has the skin on it. So lay out 3 pieces of butcher twine right across basically the length of your piece of meat. and tuck in all of the meat inside of the skin. The more meat you get inside the skin and wrap it tightly, the more juicy and flavorful your lunch meat will be. So go ahead and tie that up, do a double knot for the middle, and then you'll work your way out to the outside pieces. You can easily, if it's too big, you can definitely do more twine. I would not do any less than 3 though. We're going to bag this up for sous videing, and we'll show you how to do that in the how to make turkey lunch meat video that's coming up this week. Thank you so much for sitting around and cutting up a turkey with me today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, you can click on my face to subscribe. See you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye.